Hey, everybody. I think I'm live. All right. I just got confirmed. I'm live. How's everyone doing? I am Chris Ressa. I am the Chief Operating Officer at DLC Management. We are an owner of shopping centers in the United States, and I am the host of Retail Retold, a podcast which we say is the story of how that store ended up in your neighborhood. I am trying to share this. Let's see what happens. I'm not sharing what I thought I would be sharing. Hold on, I'm going to stop sharing. 2 seconds. Let me get up. There we go. Now I figured it out. So you should be able to see this now. I hope you can. It doesn't look like your screen share is nothing. Application window. Share. Okay. There it is. Okay. Well, it is a little small there, but I see it sharing. All right. So I'm here to talk about the impacts of the pandemic and what's happened on retail real estate and how that might affect pop-up retail. As I said before, we're a landlord all in the United States. We own shopping centers, call it from Minnesota to Texas to Florida to Maine. And we own somewhere between $2.5 to $3 billion worth of real estate. So we own a lot of real estate. It's all open air shopping centers. So it's no enclosed malls. And we're dealing, I'm talking with retailers, entrepreneurs, national retailers, legacy retailers, digitally native brands every day. And we're doing deals with them. So we have some interesting insights as what's going on. So today I want to take the first bit and talk about 3 trends that are happening in retail real estate that I think are going to impact pop-up retail. Here's the 3 trends. So I think, and we're going to get into all 3 of these. And then at the end, I'm going to go fast. This is like a 7-slide deck. And then I'm going to hopefully we have some questions for our people. And I would love for everyone to be engaged and answer some questions. So one of the things that I don't think we talk about in pop-up retailing enough is construction costs. Typically, we have, landlords and retailers are looking for space that's already built out and there's not a lot of work that needs to be done. It depends on what type of pop-up you're looking to do. If you look at, the GoPro over that we had, or some of the, enterprise size brands that are opening up pop-ups, they're opening really high end, really, high finish pop-ups. And it's going to make it a challenge if the goal of the pop-up is to generate a return and you're doing that in a short period of time because construction costs are through the roof. it's impacting everything in retail real estate. If you're trying to just open up the pop-up because you're looking for brand awareness and to get your name out there, then it just might be a marketing cost. But right now, construction costs are through the roof, and it's causing some things that headline news isn't covering in retail real estate. When you look at some of the major cities, New York City being one of them, there's a lot of talk about rents being down. But when you look in suburban America, it's not the case. Rents are up, notwithstanding closures in retail real estate. What's happened are there are more retailers that want to are going to open up stores this year than they did in previous years, and there's more retailers that are opening up stores than stores they are closing, which is the first time in a long time that trend has happened. You couple that with construction costs are rising, and what's actually headline news isn't covering enough is what demalling and converting retail space into other uses is doing is it is decreasing the supply of retail real estate. So if you have retailers that are opening more stores than they did, construction costs are rising, and you have supply of retail real estate that is going down, I don't think you're going to see rents compressed to the way headline news talks about. So as you're thinking about pop-up retailing, I think that's an interesting thing to think about is this connection of construction costs to rents. Because if you're a landlord and you're doing a permanent deal, not a pop-up with somebody, and rents, notwithstanding the pandemic and what people might perceive that should do to rents, if you just take construction, right? If it costs me $1 million to build a Starbucks, let's say, well, if I get $100,000 a year in rent, then that's a 10% return, not including what it costs me for the land. And if construction costs rise, the only way to get a sizable return is the rent has to increase. Otherwise, retail deals do not happen. So there's this construction cost to rent ratio that I'm constantly watching, and I think that people should be paying attention because it's making deals challenging on the permanent side, and I think it's going to impact pop-up retail. You just look at these stats here. I think it's really interesting what's happening in construction as it relates to real estate. So that's my first trend that's going to impact pop-up retail. The second trend that I think is going to impact pop-up retail, where do retailers want to position themselves, is going to play an interesting impact on pop-up retail. Historically, pop-up retailers have done what I would call urban high street locations and enclosed malls. And they've done that because they've been high traffic locations, and they're regional. They're usually in great regional trade areas in the United States. The malls are in great regional trade areas. Today, because of costs to operate a store in a mall and vacancy, many traditional mall retailers are seeking off-mall locations. This quote by The Gap is really interesting. We're working with many traditional enclosed mall retailers. Think of The Gap, The Buckle, Kay Jewelers. You wouldn't typically find them in your normal grocery anchored strip center down the road, but they are looking at the product type today. And so what brands does your pop-up want to coexist with, and where are they, is going to change. This exodus of from traditional malls is happening in real time. It's going to accelerate. Does that mean great malls are not going to exist? There's not going to be new brands, and will Buckle and other retailers still have stores? Of course they will. But for a long time, as a landlord, we were trying to get enclosed mall retailers to look at the off-mall locations because rents were significantly lower outside of an enclosed mall. But the sales were typically higher in the mall. And so they really didn't have a strong off-mall strategy. They were, really focused on staying in the mall. Well, that is happening in real time right now. And that impacts pop-up retail because who you want to coexist with, what brands you want to go next to in a retail project matter. And they're going to be in different places than they were pre-pandemic. And then finally, the last thing that I think, not the last, but one of the trends that I'm thinking about that impacts pop-up retail is this remote work. It changes when people buy. We talk to grocery stores who their typical buy was on a weekend. And in the pandemic and over the course of 2020, they started to say, Wednesday is a day we're seeing a lot of traffic because someone can just leave their house and, at 12 o'clock for lunch, go and just pop in and get some groceries. Well, how does that impact? How is that impact going to, what is that impact going to be long-term? I think is going to be interesting. Remote work changes where people live. I think this is a big one. If you have to be in the office only 2 days a week, well, maybe living 2 hours away from the office where cost of living is cheaper isn't a big deal anymore because you only have to make that commute twice a week. And you might choose to live in somewhere else that you didn't before. And in the United States, we're having this, major suburban rush. And then, one of the things I think it does is remote work changes disposable income. People don't have, save on commuting costs. They can live in areas with lower costs of living. And I think this puts more dollars in their wallet. And so those are the three trends that I wanted to talk about today that I think impact pop-up retail, and that is construction costs, mall to open air, and remote work. I'm Chris Ressa again. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at DLC. I'm the host of the podcast Retail Retold. You can follow me on all social channels at Ressa on Real Estate. And I'd love to make this engaging and try to answer some questions about anything I talked about or anything as it relates to pop-up retail. So what questions do people have for me? And I'm going to stop sharing. I am going to the event chat. No one is saying anything yet. I guess while I'm waiting for questions, I'll add on to some things that I think are impactful in pop-up retail. I think that when people are choosing pop-up retail, I think typically they're coming from the digital space, and the primary real estate sourcing that I have seen is that people are choosing based on their highest penetration of customers. So if most of your sales happen in New York City, well, then that's probably a safe place to try a pop-up. One of the things that legacy retailers have done really well that I think could be a pop-up. Pop-ups have talked about doing this. They do this less. But if you're coming from the digital spaces, to think about it like a lookalike audience, and legacy retailers do this really well, which is they say, okay, my customer is X because they're buying in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And so my customer, this is the demographic, this is who they are, this is where they live. Where is my customer not that we can open up a location? And I think that's going to be a trend in pop-up retailing to gain market share, especially as customer acquisition costs online continue to rise. That is going to be a strategy we're not seeing a lot of today. We typically see pop-up retailing end up in places where that are safe bets because they know their core customers there because they've already bought, and now it's a way to continue to connect in person with their customer. I believe that you're going to see more white space pop-ups where digitally native brands and any brand that wants to do a pop-up goes to markets where they have very few customers, but they're a lookalike audience to their customer that's buying from them online. So I am, I'd love to talk about so that's something that I've been thinking about as it relates to pop-up and what I think is going to happen from a real estate perspective with pop-up retail. What questions? Come on, everybody. Let's get a question going. I would love a question about the 3 trends that I think are going to impact in retail real estate that are going to impact pop-up retail. That's construction costs, mall to open air, and remote work. Who's got a question? I'm looking at something backstage here. Here we go. This is where the questions are. Here we go. How do you think we will be able to find more outdoor locations for pop-ups? So I think there is a ton of good ways. So when I think about this, I think about the team. And so the first thing I tell any new retailer is to create a team. And so if you have an advisor, a broker, or somebody, I think that is a good place to start because there's a significant amount of locations outside, whether it's just a place in what we would call a power center, right? If you think about Whole Foods, Nordstrom Rack, REI, there's a vacancy there that's not in the mall. If you meant outdoor like that GoPro, to me, that's about creating a team, whether it's a broker who knows the local real estate market and probably an architect in that scenario, a store designer who can help you. Someone who does this for people is a woman named Melissa Gonzalez. You should check her out on social media. She's really great. What's a good square footage goal to shoot for in an average pop-up? So I think, Ron, to me, this is all about, do you want to sell product or are you creating digital awareness? So if you want to sell product, I would actually think about, getting more square footage. We're seeing these in 1, 2,000, 3,000 square foot, maybe. But if you're, and even less than 1,000 square feet. But if you have a lot of SKUs and you want people to actually discover the product, then for your first launch of a pop-up, you might want to have, a couple thousand square feet so you can get as many SKUs and people can have that discovery. Do you see malls becoming small ecosystems, residential, entertainment, retail, healthcare services? I think certainly trying, Stephen. I think that it's not easy. We've seen it done, but you have a lot of, in America, retail sales are very important to local municipalities, and that is not changing anytime soon because they get tax revenue from that. And so they're better off having as much retail in a market as they can. That's number one. Number two, there's a huge cost to doing this, right? If I bought the mall for $300 million and I based it off the income stream coming, and now I have to go and put all these other things in, it's going to be a huge equity check. And are they going to be more rents or less rents than I got previously. And then that's the second piece is return. What we're seeing a lot of times, the multifamily residential, people thought you would see that more. It's because pricing. It's because the land value is more valuable as retail. And it doesn't work in a lot of markets. You're going to see healthcare for sure because they want to get closer to the consumer, and entertainment for sure. And you're seeing that already, right? Healthcare decided they wanted to get closer to the consumer about a decade ago. Now there's an urgent care in every shopping center in America. So you're going to continue to see healthcare in enclosed malls. Jeannie, how are you? What pop-ups are most popular at this time, and how are they most successful? So I don't know that there's any one trend. What we're seeing is two things. One, people who want to test if their concept can work physically, and two, people who want to create brand awareness. We're seeing legacy brands, Gucci, and we're seeing Target do pop-ups, and then we're seeing, just to create a connection with the consumer. And then we're also seeing, groups that are consumer product brands like GoPro, who you can buy in other retailers or direct to consumer, open up a pop-up. So I think it's across the board on, I think more importantly than what's successful in how you ask the question is, what is the purpose of the pop-up? Is it marketing, or are we trying to sell product and test to see if we can do this in a physical format? Nicole, due to remote work and people shopping on different days and times than before, should pop-up retailers mirror operating hours to this new trend and not just push weekends? That was the point I was making, was don't be seduced by people shop on weekends all the time anymore. I think, right, because it depends on where you go. There's a lot of, when we look at a market and we look at in one of the things we do when we're buying real estate is we're looking at the drivers of the market. What are the fundamentals, right? We're typically looking for employment drivers, factories, corporate office, healthcare, schools. And if you're in a market where, one of the big factors was corporate office, and now people are working from home, it's going to change on what days they might be there. And so I think totally you need to get into the market and understand what is the majority of those people, where do they work, and what does that mean for their shopping habits. This is changing. We do geofencing of our properties, and we use geofencing traffic and to see when people are coming. And it is pretty wild what we're seeing shopping patterns. Like I said, Wednesdays, people are going grocery shopping on Wednesdays. So yeah, I wouldn't be seduced by like, we have to be there on the weekends. I think that people are going to be out and about at different days.
Hi, Chris. Thank you so much. That was such a great talk.
Was it?
Yes, it was. Why do you seem surprised?
Because I don't know. I feel like I got, I don't know how I'm curious how I did. So
you did fantastic. You answered so many great questions. I really loved what you had to say about so many great things about what you really need to think about when it comes to the market. And I feel like that is huge. And anybody who I know who's in leasing or real estate, they really understand the importance of where the consumer is, the demographics, how much they make, their household income, and how that all plays into picking a place for a pop-up, or even like you said, the future where, breaking into new spaces where you may not be already.
Cool. Well, I hope it was good.
It certainly was. So thank you so much. And everybody keep up with Chris's podcast. Chris, if you have the link, please put it in the chat. Then people can subscribe to the podcast and listen to all of your great interviews. I know you had just celebrated 100 podcast episodes. So congratulations.
Cool. Thank you.
That's great. Okay. So now everybody, Beth Azor is here with us. She is here in the backstage. So let me give her a quick introduction. So again, thank you, Chris, for that great talk on the future, what we can expect post-pandemic. Even though we're still kind of in it, there is a silver lining and there is, gold at the end of the rainbow. So there's so much to look forward to in retail, and pop-up is really where it's at. So with us now, we have Beth Azor, who is just a powerhouse. She is great. If you guys are on Clubhouse, she also hosts her Space Tank, where she helps give out free leasing space to small businesses or brands who are looking to pop up, when she partners with different leasing companies as well as shopping centers in the US. So a great person to connect with. Another thing just to say is that she owns Azor Advisory Services, where she can provide you a lot of services in helping you find that perfect space that you're looking for your pop-up or even just any type of retail space. So today we're going to be talking about pop-ups and how to prop up the economy. So Beth, she's going to join us here in just a second. Let me add her in, and then we'll continue this amazing day of pop-up experts. Hello, Beth. How are you doing?
I am awesome, Janelle. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So it's amazing to have you here. I'm so happy we're able to fix the technical difficulties. And this is just fantastic. So I'll let you take it away. I know everybody is so eager to hear from you. So Beth, go right ahead.
Thank you, Janelle. And thank you, Alyssa, for having me. And thanks, Chris, for jumping in. Sometimes you have technical difficulties. I am not at home. I'm actually in Detroit, visiting my BFF, who's also now a client, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, which is very exciting and has a lot to do with pop-ups. So before I get there, though, let me just tell you. So hi, everybody. Hi, everyone in the audience. I hope you guys are all aspiring entrepreneurs, pop-up lovers. I am a pop-up lover. I have loved the entrepreneur space for over 30 years that I've been in the retail leasing industry. I started buying shopping centers back in 1992 and own my own portfolio in South Florida now. But I've always been passionate about entrepreneurs, mom and pop shops. And I knock on doors and try to get unique entrepreneurs to come into my shopping centers and my client shopping centers. And many times when I'll walk into a retail store and I see it over inventoried, or I see a retail concept that I think is phenomenal, I always say, what about a pop-up? What about a temporary store? Maybe if it's an educational books and toys for kids, I'll say, what about back to school? Or if this past year during COVID, I wanted a toy store. I thought in one of my shopping centers, I thought that COVID was going to have a pent-up demand of money savings, and that parents were going to overspend on their kids during the holidays. So I said, let me go find a toy store or a hobby store that I could lease to in my center on a temporary basis. And if they do well, the long-term goal for us landlords is that you guys do so well, you stay. And I found a hobby store. They had 2 locations, and I convinced them, I would usually text on Facebook, or I go knock on doors if you already have a bricks and mortar. And this time I actually sent an email on the Facebook page where, you would register a question or a complaint, because they didn't have a Facebook DM attached to their Facebook page. So I went to their website and I said, hi, I own shopping centers. I would love to give you 3 months free during Christmas. And like about a week later, they called and said, we got your message on our website. What's the catch? And I said, no catch. I think you could bring traffic to my center during the holidays. I have vacancy, so why not? I'm happy to help you. You bring unique traffic. And if you do well, maybe you'll stay. And what happened was they were there 2 weeks in October, and they did in the 40,000 range. November, they did about, I think it was 89,000. And then in December, they did 175,000, and they signed a 3-year lease. So it was a huge win-win for me, the landlord, and for them. So Janelle mentioned Clubhouse. For those of you that are on Clubhouse, while I was doing this in in my own shopping centers with pop-ups. And since then, I think I've signed 5 or 6 pop-ups and 3 have turned into long-term deals. I did a gym equipment space where I said, come bring your gym equipment. He had a warehouse full of gym equipment. And I said, come into my empty Pier 1. And he's still there, but the space is way too big for him. I think if I could find him something smaller, he'd sign a longer term lease, but I'm okay right now. And back then, again, 6 months ago, I thought everyone is outfitting their gyms, their home gyms, a gym and equipment retailer pop-up would be great. So I had him come in, and so what I do with pop-ups and what I tell my landlords for Clubhouse, which I'll share on Clubhouse, I have something called Space Tank. So it's obviously a spin-off of the name Shark Tank, because I was listening on Clubhouse to Shark Tank and I thought, wow, I would love to give entrepreneurs some money, but I don't have any money. And I thought, wait a minute, I have something, and all my friends like Chris Ressa, landlords, have something. We have something a lot of more since the pandemic, which is vacancies. So I started calling all my landlord friends and I said, hey, if you have 3 or more vacancies, you should donate one to my cause of helping prop up the economy with pop-ups. I'm going to have this event on Clubhouse. And they're like, what's that? All my landlords, what's Clubhouse? I said, come on and check it out. And the first night we had 54 landlords. And the second night we had 75 landlords. And we had entrepreneurs like you who are interested in pop-ups show up. And I said to the landlords, you have to commit to 90 days free. Now, what does the entrepreneur do? The entrepreneur takes the space as is. We can't expect our landlords to invest in the space for you. So we kind of have to be the matchmaker. If you're a clothing store, if I can find a space with a dressing room, awesome. If you're a coffee shop, can I find a space for you that's a second gen coffee, tea, pastry place? Awesome. So you have to take the space as is. You give insurance for the space, liability insurance, and you pay the utilities. So that's what we on Clubhouse, on Space Tank, we ask the entrepreneurs to do. Maybe a small deposit, definitely utilities, unless you're in a mall, because some of you know when you're in the mall pays the utilities. But if you're in a grocery anchored center, you need to pay the utilities. Take the spaces and give insurance. And the first night we matched 27 businesses with landlords, and the second night, 32. So I love matching pop-ups, entrepreneurs, helping them achieve the American dream with landlords around the country. So, and what my pop-ups, what I find on Space Tank is it is entrepreneurs in a variety of positioning. One, they already have a bricks and mortar and they want to try out a new concept or a new market. Or 2, they have an online business, like Chris said, and they want to try bricks and mortar. We had a young lady who had a scrubs business. She had a warehouse full of scrubs. She sold online. She was doing about $150,000 in revenue, and she wanted to try a bricks and mortar across from a hospital in Texas. And we had a bunch of landlords that wanted to talk to her. Our first success story, and you can check this young lady out on Instagram, from Clubhouse Space Tank, is a woman by the name of Vernell, and she runs Sweet Tea Factory. She came on our first Space Tank and did not get a match. I said, come back, because she wanted a specific market. She wanted as close to Savannah, Georgia as possible. She came back on Space Tank night number 2, and we matched her with the Tanger Outlet Mall Company, and they had a space in Pooler, Georgia. She opened her business 2 weeks ago. So check her out on Instagram. We're so excited that we finally have our first success story. But something new came up, and while I'm in Detroit, I have just been hired by Bedrock. They own a mall in Cleveland, Ohio, called the Tower City Center. And I have just been hired. So I'm hoping some of you in the audience are going to be interested in this, to fill their mall that is, by the way, anchored by the Ritz-Carlton and Morton Steakhouse for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame awards show and the NBA All-Star Game. What? So I've got a bunch of spaces that I toured yesterday. I'm going to be creating a pop-up experience collateral, and Janelle, I'll get it to you. And if you guys DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn, we're going to be looking for all kinds of pop-ups for the 6-month period. And obviously my goal as to help out this mall is I want some of you to stay long-term, but think of the hundreds of thousands of people coming to Cleveland for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Awards and the NBA All-Star Game. And so we're going to start in October, opening the pop-ups, and go all the way till March and cover all of those 2 huge events. So pop-ups are expanding beyond just mall pop-ups, weekend pop-ups, bricks and mortar pop-ups, 3-month pop-ups. Now you can see I have been tasked to help with event pop-ups. Retailers like you wanting to be in the presence of this tourist explosion of traffic in Cleveland, Ohio. So if you're any retailer that's listening or any pop-up in the Midwest or outside of the Midwest that wants to take advantage of these 2 events, please reach out. So yeah, what exactly? So any questions for me? I think, and one of the other things that I've been involved in, and just to kind of give you guys some experience or know about my experience and my love for the entrepreneur, is we created something called down in South Florida, the South Florida Independent Retail Awards, where it's like an Oscar Awards. And every year, we had to cancel last year, but we did it in 2018 and 19, where, and we'd like to see other communities do this across the country, where we pick 15 categories. So best nail salon, best coffee shop, best Italian restaurant, et cetera, et cetera. And we nominate, the landlords, the brokers, and the community nominate what they feel are the best of in those categories. And then we do live voting in the event. And what's so exciting is those entrepreneurs who are in the room that are nominees get to meet the 300 landlords in the room. And there are deals being made at that event also. So I love mom and pops, entrepreneurs. The way to get started, back in 2007, 8, and 9, when we had the financial crisis, it was the biggest boom of entrepreneurial ideas ever. And I believe because of you all, this is going to be bigger than that boom. Because during that boom, there was a shortage of capital. There is not a shortage of capital now. And if you have an idea, now is the time. In 2009, Airbnb and Uber were invented. What are you going to invent? And I hope you do it in a pop-up. Let's try out the idea in a pop-up, and let's prop up the economy with pop-ups and help you fill your American dream. So that's my story on pop-ups, Janelle. And let me see if you guys have any questions for me. I am happy to answer them. Let me go to the stage. So any questions for me? So yes, Janelle and I have a passionate sharing love for pop-ups. But yes, and the landlords on Clubhouse are definitely, I think you have Brixmor coming on next, Laura. I found out that during COVID, they did over I'm sure she's going to share this. I don't want to blow her cover, but 200 pop-ups in their portfolio around the country. So how awesome that you have a landlord that has an open mind to thinking there's someone in our community that provides a service or provides a service or merchandise that might turn into something like, I don't know about you guys, but back, I'm older than probably most of you watching, but whoever thought when I was a teenager, we'd be selling bottled water. So what's the next product that we're going to sell? And you guys will create revenue for yourselves. And again, us landlords, yes, eventually we like rent, but we really, really, really like traffic. We really, really, really like traffic. So any questions for me? I can tell you, so here are some of the pop-up stores. I know, I think Jeannie was asking about uses for pop-ups. So I did a pop-up with a musical academy where a woman was doing piano lessons in her house. and wanted to try doing it in a retail space in a shopping center. So I put her in a former chiropractor space where there was rooms. She went in and soundproofed them, and it blew into a huge business. She started with 600 square feet, and she ended up expanding and expanding, hiring teachers, bringing in great customers to the shopping centers, because as the mom and dads are dropping off their kids for the music lessons, they shopped at the shopping center for that hour. So that's a great pop-up. My other pop-ups I've done, I told you about the hobby store. They're doing phenomenal. I did a blinds and drapery store. So I had met during COVID. I was doing videos for local community, my local hometown hero retailers. I was doing videos with them because everyone was kind of locked up at home. And I thought, how can I get both my tenants and the local retailers some coverage or some exposure while we're all at home and everyone's on YouTube? So I interviewed this company that had been in my town, Davie, Florida, for 49 years in one location. So I wasn't thinking that they were ever going to open another one. They were pretty happy with their one location. And I interviewed, it was the father-son business. The son had just gotten to the business a few years earlier. And I interviewed them about COVID and blinds and draperies and, all that stuff, how long they'd been in the business. And a couple weeks later, I reached out to the son and I said, would you ever consider, if I was to give you 3 or 4 months free, I have a center 7 miles away from your current location, maybe 10 miles away, and it has a lighting store. I put in a pop-up billiards, pinball store. It had a kitchen and design store. I said, would you consider coming in as a pop-up and trying out a second store? I know you've been here for 49 years. You're an established business, but would you ever want to try a new market? And they said, sure. And they were there for 4 months, and they just signed a 5-year lease because their business, they did way better. They thought that everyone was coming to them at their location that they had been at for 49 years. Well, being next to a lighting store and a billiard and pinball, think about that, home decorating kind of, same concept. And then the kitchen and bath store. And now they're the blinds and drapery store. They had a great synergy, and they were very happy with their sales. The billiards guy is another pop-up. So I found him in one of those community magazines. He was advertising. It turned out he had 8 locations in the state of Florida. And I said, well, come. I had a former Vision Workspace, 6,000 square feet. He brought in all these huge, beautiful pool tables, these pinball machines, these hanging bar lights, man cave signs, really, built it out beautifully. He's there till August. I gave him 6 months free. I'm not sure if he'll stay. His sales are not as great as the blinds and drapery guys, but we'll see. You never know. And then I told you about the gym equipment guy. So I had found him, reached out to him and found out that he had bought out 2 24-hour fitness huge gyms. I said, well, where'd you put all of that gym equipment? He goes, oh, it's in my warehouse. I go, why is it in your warehouse? Bring it into my empty Pier 1 next to my Aldi grocery store. And at least, you may get a few sales because no one's kind of coming to your warehouse to look at the 500 treadmills that you have. So they, again, merchandised it beautifully. Oh, and that was the other thing. If you do pitch a landlord or come on Space Tank and do your pitch, it's always good to share your backstory. The landlords want to know the backstory. The landlords want to know why you're thinking about doing this, or what did you do in your past life that prepared you for this? I remember one of the early stories on our first Space Tank night. We had a young woman who wanted to open a curated space in Atlanta in a mall. And she said, I have apparel and jewelry design and purses and handbags. And she wanted to have all of these little vendors in a 3,000 square foot space. And I think the mic dropped when she said, and when I graduated from college with my retail merchandising degree and went and worked at Abercrombie and Fitch for 3 years, learning the retail business, everyone was like, we want her, we want her. So think about what about you, it gives you the desire and the passion to want to do a pop-up. because landlords are looking for that you as a unique person who's going to drive unique traffic. Hi, Scott. How would spaces and brands find the Clubhouse channel? Great question. So the best way to find it is to follow me on Clubhouse and ping the alert button so that when I open the room, the Space Tank room, you are alerted. Beth just opened Space Tank. I also, if you follow me on Instagram, Scott, for probably the week before we have the event, and then every day leading up to the event, I promote it on my Instagram. So I'm like, Space Tank in 3 days, Space Tank in 2 days, Space Tank tonight, Space Tank in 1 hour. So because I know it's hard on Clubhouse there's like no calendar, which is, maybe that's something that they're going to fix as they grow. So following me both on Clubhouse and both on Instagram, and if you are on LinkedIn, I also publish it. So the minute we pick the date that we're going to have the Clubhouse and I have the landlords ready to go, then I start jumping into entrepreneur rooms on Clubhouse, inviting entrepreneurs to come. But I absolutely promote it I do it on Twitter, I do it on LinkedIn, I do it on Instagram, and then follow me on Clubhouse with the little alert bell, and then you will hear when I'm opening the room. But that might be a little too late of a notice for you if you're in the middle of dinner. I usually do it on Thursday nights at 7:30. We just had the last one Thursday, like 3 days ago. So it'll probably be in another 4 to 6 weeks. I'm actually doing a food and beverage one. If any of you are watching or listening, Food and Beverage Magazine has a club on Clubhouse, and they have asked me to bring a group of landlords together for a specialized Space Tank focused on food and beverage. So bakeries, pastries, coffee shops, chef-driven restaurants, pizza restaurants. So I'm going to be spending the next few weeks gathering the landlords that have second generation former restaurant spaces. And we're going to have an evening just for food and beverage sponsored by that club. So if we do that in the next 3 or 4 weeks, the next Space Tank will be 3 or 4 weeks after that for retail merchandisers. So those are all the questions for me, Janelle, I think, unless anyone else has any other questions. I love that you put this together. Any other questions? My pleasure, Nicole. Thank you so much.
Hey, Beth. Thank you so much for your amazing talk. Like I said, I just love hearing all the stories and exactly that. Everything that you do, not only in Clubhouse, but just outside of everything you do to help small businesses in searching. Because you know what? I've been there where you're trying to find, even just for vendor events, brands or companies that would be a good fit. So there is a lot of work that goes into finding and curating businesses and helping them, not only you succeed, but then them succeed as well. So I love to hear that. And thank you so much for everything that you do.
My pleasure. And how exciting is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the NBA All-Stars?
Yes, look at you go.
Let's go. So anyone that, is interested in a pop-up, or Janelle, if you have anybody interested, let me know.
Yeah, you know what? Alyssa's already writing up an email to send to you. So we are definitely here to support, because we know how it is trying to find some great talent. And if we know what you're looking for, we'll definitely send people your way as well.
Thank you for having me so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Bye. Everybody is so exciting. Wow, Beth is just amazing. I just love the energy, and just wow, so many people who can provide such value to everybody here. I hope you, after this entire event is over, you do tap in and follow everybody, all of the speakers on Instagram, connect with them on LinkedIn, connect with them on Clubhouse, keep up with what everybody is doing, because they are really out here providing resources where you can either learn, where you can network, where you can pop up everything that you need, we have the panel here on our speaking list to assist you. So everybody on this list, if you are interested in any kind of pop-ups, make sure you connect, look through the list after here as well. Make sure you guys get all of that done. So without further ado, we have Stephen Brooks, who is here next. I'm so excited. He was also having the whole pop-up expert series for us for the last few weeks now. So every week, Stephen was doing a pop-up expert series live on Zoom for anybody who had purchased a ticket, as well as those in our community. It was just a tremendous time. I'm sure Stephen will tell you a little bit more about that. So let's have him jump on. He will be talking about busting the myths behind your pop-up shop. So what are the myths that you may have, or the notions that you may think about pop-ups that are absolutely incorrect? And here are some great ways that you can strive and really succeed. He has all the secrets. You know, Stephen was telling us so many great things, from his 7 secrets to success to his pop-up Hollywood effect that it is imperative for pop-ups to also think about. So without further ado, like I said, let's get Stephen in here. I'm going to add him now. So let's get him in. I hope you all are enjoying and taking notes. We are almost through with our speakers. We have one last talk left after this. It will be myself and Nicole. Stephen, let's see if we can get you in. I believe we are connecting.
Hi there. Hello, everybody.
Fantastic. Hi, Stephen. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Very well. You're doing a great job.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
This is fabulous. It's absolutely fabulous.
I'm so excited, and I'm so happy you're here with us again. So I'll let you take the stage. And again, Stephen Brooks, everybody.
Thank you, Janelle. Listen, before I start, my name's Steve Brooks. I'm the pop-up retail expert. I just want to say thank you to Barry and Ron and Laura and Chris and Beth and Sweeney, and of course Janelle, because as Ron was saying right when we started this morning, you know, there's an art to retail, and retailers love to share, and I'm sure all of you must have copious amounts of notes with all the great information that we've had, you know, the exciting data that we had from Chris just a few minutes ago, the great opportunities that Beth was just sharing, and Ron's passion for retail, and Barry and Laura's great insight into pop-ups. So from me, thank you. I've learned some things today as well, which is always good. So my name's Steve Brooks. I'm the pop-up retail expert. Barry was right. I'm back out on film in 1997 saying I don't know who came up with the phrase pop-up retailing, but until somebody says it's them, I'm saying it's me. So no one's come up and said it was them. So I guess I came up with the phrase pop-up retailing. For those of you that have been following the pop-up series, they're all going to be published anyway. So you can go back, because I don't have a lot of time to go through as much as I would like today, but you can go back, you can take a look at those videos, and then, you know, come and find me, come and talk to me, as I love to share knowledge. Anybody that's working with me will tell you that. I've got over 35 years experience now of working in retail and with pop-ups and with large corporations, from, you know, T-Mobile and Virgin Media to startups and e-commerce brands. And you know, we've taken businesses from, you know, just one location to over 100 in 18 months. I've worked with people that sell light bulbs to people that sell mobile phone accessories, you know, nail salons, all the things that Beth was talking about as well. So there's an immense amount of knowledge that I hope you've all been able to gain today, and I'm really thankful for being here. So what I want to do is just talk to you very, very quickly about the 7 secrets to success. And you'll have gained a lot of information today from the other speakers, but I just want to outline what those buckets look like, those buckets of information. And yes, we talked about the location being so important. Just like when you're buying a house, location. It's so important. And then the next real big thing, you know, is amazing customer service. Not good, not great, amazing. And I'll tell you for why. Because that's the differentiating factor between you and the competition. And I'm going to talk to you in a minute about what I'm calling the Hollywood effect. Okay. So from there, what's the next thing that's important? And Barry spoke about this with such eloquence today, about the team, about making sure your team is motivated, making sure that you choose the right people. As business owners, as entrepreneurs, the people that you employ are never going to feel the same depth of passion that you are. Okay, you just have to accept that. But you can bring them with you on the journey. You can motivate them. You can incentivize them. You can put, the real determination in them to succeed every day and turn up with that smile and turn up with that knowledge. So motivating them, incentivizing them, and training them to cross-sell, upsell, understand the product, but at the end of the day, to offer amazing customer service. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the Hollywood effect. So from there, what we want to look at is also maximizing that opportunity. Okay, as everybody's been saying, let's get to know the landlord. Let's give them the story. Let's partner with their social media, as well as obviously doing your own things, but really maximize that opportunity. Chris made an excellent point about understanding the location, where the highs and the lows are around the shopping patterns. I'm of the opinion that you should be there from when it opens until when it closes, because that's what you're paying for. But of course, if you understand the shopping patterns, then you can make sure that you've got the right people there to give that amazing customer service, make those sales, or gain those leads. Really, really important. From there, merchandising, it's so important. Okay, understanding what your products are, how to best present them, how to pair them with things that you can cross-sell and upsell. It's no surprise, as Beth was just saying, that the young lady who'd been to worked with Abercrombie and Fitch, people wanted to jump onto straight away because, yes, she's got that knowledge. So merchandising your products, showing them in the best possible way that you can is crucial, absolutely crucial. And then knowing what your niche is. So knowing your products, knowing what your inventory is like, knowing what your supply chain is like. So, so important. And our final secret to success is, of course, planning. From right at the start, planning. 90-day plans around your marketing, your recruiting, your training, your incentivizing, your merchandising, your opening, your staffing, your business plan. I'm surprised how many people I talk to who actually just think it's as easy as turning up, opening the doors and turning the lights on. It's not. You've got to work at it. You've got to plan. Okay. So which brings me very, very nicely to the Hollywood effect. So what's the Hollywood effect all about? Well, let's imagine that your pop-up shop idea is a script for a Hollywood blockbuster. What do you start to do? Well, you start to build the team around you. You look for the actors, you look for the directors, you look for the key grip guys and the best boys and the cameramen and all of those things. So just like with your pop-up shop, you're looking for fixtures, fittings, you're looking for the inventory to be in place, you're looking for the right team, you're looking for the right location. So that gets into the planning point straight away. So then you shoot your movie. Right? And so what do you do in the pop-up is you bring that all together, ready to get it to go, ready to get it into the cinema, into the mall in order to open up. So, so important. So what do you do at that next stage? Well, if it's a blockbuster movie, you do what all blockbuster movies do now. You get the actors out and doing interviews. You get a little trailer going. You get some posters up. You pre-promote. And in exactly the same way, that's what you should be doing with your pop-up, right? You should be getting onto Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or Snapchat or TikTok. You should be just promoting it out there, letting people know where you're going to be, how long you're going to be there. Do some lives. Yeah, do some lives like this. Who doesn't like watching real people being authentic, being real, telling people what they're going to do for them? I love it. And so should you. So you pre-promote it. And then, just like your Hollywood movie, what do? You have the grand opening. You have a big red carpet event. Maybe you can afford a marching band and paparazzi. Who knows, right? And everybody then, because you've done all the hard work, wants to run in and see and be the first to see it. So you open your pop-up shop. Now, just like the movie, what happens next? They want to see the love scene. They want to see the blockbuster action-packed scene. They want to see the twist at the end that has everybody gasping, right? And that's amazing customer service. That's what you want from your pop-up shop. You want to give them a great experience. You want to entertain them. And then, just like everybody that's seen the blockbuster movie, when they leave, what do you want them to do? You want them to go and tell everybody how brilliant it was, right? What a great action scene. Oh, there's a twist at the end. I don't want to spoil it for you. But exactly the same thing happens with a pop-up shop. In fact, all of this relates to retailing across the globe, okay? You want them to go out and tell them, I got a great product. I got amazing customer service. I know it's not going to be there very long, so you want to go back, right? Now, understand 78% of people still want to touch, feel, and engage with a product before they buy it. What does that mean to you? That's your best opportunity to sell them something, right? That's your best opportunity to sell them something. Don't lose that opportunity. Give them amazing customer service. Wow them, and they'll come flooding back. Now, you're a pop-up. You're going to be there for maybe 4 weeks. Maybe you're going to be there for 12 weeks. Maybe you're going to be there for 6 months, right? So you've got to keep that momentum going. You've got to keep, you want people keep going back to see that movie. The more people know about it, the more people are going to see it. It's so, so important. Now, what happens with blockbuster movies is this. They put it on DVD or they stream it. So what do? You do some lives, okay? You get some videos, you get some testimonials, or you get them back onto your e-store and you get them promoting back out in the business. So you keep that momentum going. Data is so, so key to everything that we do. So you want to be making sure you're keeping in contact with those people so that, just like the blockbuster movie franchises, be it Star Wars or Bond or whatever it might be, when you launch your next blockbuster pop-up shop, people are going to come flooding back to it because they love the concept. They love what you do. Now, at the start of all of this, Janelle said I was going to bust some of the myths about pop-up retailing. Myth number one, it's not expensive, not as expensive as you think. You'll have heard earlier, somebody said about, it's about $5,000 to set up a pop-up shop. Really, in the scheme of things, with you getting in front of your customers, 78% of people want to touch, feel, and engage with a product. You have that opportunity to sell them. That's not a big investment. In fact, it's money well spent to drive your business forward. Myth number two, right? Oh, I don't think it works for my business. Believe it or not, pop-up works for any business, okay? It's been around since the beginning of time. We used to call them markets, souks, and bazaars, okay? But we've gone up market. In the last 20 years, pop-up's seen this huge explosion. If you're in a service industry, what better way to connect with your customer? What better way to qualify your customer about, coming to see them, to talk about their guttering or a new garage door? If you've got a new product, what a great way to test your new product. If you've got a new retail concept, it's a great way to test before you invest. If you want to know if a location's going to work for you, it's the best way to see if a location works. Now, caveat to that is this. Just because it works in one shopping center, shopping mall, doesn't mean it's going to work in the next nearest one 10 miles down the road. Why? Because the demographic might be different, the retail mix might be different, the location of your pop-up might be different. So you really need to understand the science. You really need to understand the data. You really need to have a dashboard about when your sales are, what's your average sale, what products are being sold, when are you selling them, okay? And then you match all of that data with the next location. That's why we were able to grow a business from 1 to over 100 in 18 months, because we understood the data and we took We took the customer through the journey. Myth number 3, okay, is always, I can't find anybody to man my stand. Well, as you'll have heard, you've got friends and family that you can go to. I've seen people run ads in actors and actresses magazines, because believe it or not, out of work actors and actresses really do make good salespeople, because for them, it's another part, right? So they're really good at that sort of thing. But use that opportunity of working with the landlord. Maybe they can get your vacancy onto their website. A lot of malls do that now. Right, there are lots of free sites. You can post things for free on Indeed or some of those other sites where you can get people to come on board. And believe me, if you're passionate about your business, if you are really, really set on being a success, and you can pass that on, and you can pass that enthusiasm onto your team, then you will be a success. Okay. Myth number 4. Is generally around space. Okay, I've got to take a lot of space if I want to do a pop-up. Actually, you don't. Sometimes you can have a very small space on the mall where you can have a pull-up banner and a desk and talk to people, if that's what you're doing in a service industry. Sometimes you can find an inline store. Sometimes they're huge. Sometimes they're small. Right. But believe me, where we are in retail at this point in time, coming out of an epidemic, right? They really want people to have a great experience when they come back to shop. So they're going to work with you. They're going to try and find ways that they can attract great brands, great startups, great individuals, great services into their mall. Because, and I'm talking to you landlords now, if you're listening, just like pop-ups have the Hollywood effect, so should you guys too, right? Really, really important in my book. Partnerships with pop-ups and shopping malls is so important. A mall can become a retail incubator for taking that first pop-up experience into a permanent inline store. It's happened loads of times. Beth's seen it hundreds of times. I've seen it hundreds of times. When landlords invest in the people that are doing the pop-up, and when the pop-up invests in their product and the relationship with their mall, it works. It works. I want to tell you a very quick story about one of my favorite pop-ups, because it's actually it always surprises me, and it's to do with light bulbs. We were approached by a man who had a very small shop off the beaten track, as we say in the United Kingdom, so down a little side street, that just sold light bulbs. It had been around for a long time, and it was fast going downhill. And he was looking at ways that he could just get out of the business, get rid of his inventory, okay, and make some cash and kind of leave with some dignity. So we came up with a strategy about him running a pop-up shop in the right mall for him, right location, right price. And within, I think, 3 months, we had booked out a whole year's plan for the guy, because his business suddenly took off. Now, over the next 5 years, he made more profit than he'd made in the previous 10. And now he still uses that shopping mall, or has been using that shopping mall so many times a year now. I think it's on average around 13 times a year. He's increased his product range. So not only now does he sell light bulbs, but he sells little tools and batteries and things. He did the right thing with his marketing. He got professional signage made. He's adapted his offer, and he's actually now enthused about his business. He's created an online store as well in the last few years, and is also just has this whole new revitalized enthusiasm for what he's doing. What does that mean if you're over inventoried? Well, if you just want to get out of a business, pop-up's a great way to go and sell it somewhere else that people don't know you, and sell it off cheap and get out of the business if that's what you want to do. But is it a way of reinvigorating your business? Absolutely. Absolutely. Pop-ups work. Okay. No question about it. 100%. If you put in the dedication, it's going to come back to you. Okay. So I've waxed on lyrical for a long time. I'd love to know what questions you've got. I love being challenged by this. The beauty, I think, of being a retailer is we're passionate about what we do. Okay. And for those of you who've heard this story before, I apologize, but it never ceases to amaze me that when I go and do visits and either walk around malls or walk through big retailers, because we're looking at how we can monetize some of the space, right? People come up to me to ask me questions about the environment I'm in. Now, maybe it's because, I don't know, I have a retailer's face, whatever that might be. But I guess once a retailer, always a retailer. And I can tell you from all of the people that you've heard today, we are all passionate about retailing. We are all passionate about how we can help people and grow people's businesses and just bring together and collaborate with great individuals. So that's me off my soapbox, as we say. I think we've got some questions here. Let's have a look. You love the correlation between a Hollywood movie and great retail. Thank you, Ron. I really believe it. And it came to me, just a few months ago, because I was, in spite of what you're hearing in the press, okay, retail is not dead. And as you would have heard Chris saying, there are more shops opening than there are closing. Yes, there's a problem with more real estate, but all the pandemic has done is just accelerated probably what was going to happen. Yes, we've lost some big brands, but actually, when I was looking at how do we get that message across, it was obvious to me that the blockbuster movie was exactly the thing that was the message that I wanted to convey. So what other questions have you got? Anything to do with pop-up, I'm here. Please challenge me. I've got 35 years in the business. One other thing you might like, if you'd like a free copy of my book, Pop-Up for Beginners, How to Be a Success in Shopping Malls, then drop me an email, steve@thepopupexpert, or message me through Instagram, and we'll get one of those off to you straight away with my pleasure. So who's out there doing pop-ups right now? I'd love to know what you're trying to achieve. Where's the where you're trying to do them? What can I help you with, I guess is what I'm saying. Anything at all? Anybody out there? Hello. You'll have to excuse me. I'm from a small little island called England. Although these days I now live in Chicago. So, or as I like to call it, the mothership. Anyway, Janelle, how are you? Welcome back. Hello.
Awesome. You are fantastic. I absolutely love when you share the 7 secrets to success, because they're so key in customer service. You've really drilled that into my brain as well.
Cool. Very good. Very good. And thank you again for all of your hard work on behalf of all the other speakers and everybody that's watching. This wouldn't have happened if it hadn't have been for you. So I'm blessed and thankful for the connection and for your enthusiasm. It's infectious.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And again, the whole idea came from you in the first place. Remember, you wanted to do your webinar, and I'm like, you know what, we might as well make a big thing out of this, right? So absolutely love your energy, and everybody make sure you connect. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at The Retail Specialist. You can find me on LinkedIn, Stephen O. Brooks. Google The Pop-Up Retail Expert. I'm the #1 hit on Google. You'll find me on you'll find me on Twitter at the Pop-Up Expert, or email me, steve@thepopupexpert. It's an easy one to remember. Just think of that mad English guy that knows a lot about pop-ups.
But you're based in Chicago, right now?
Yes, I've lived in Chicago now for the last 5 years. I love being here. It's a vibrant city. I just love being around infectious people. So it's fabulous. It's fabulous.
Yeah, and I was just talking to Alyssa actually, and she was telling me, I think we lost you, but we were talking to Alyssa, and Alyssa said that we need to come over to Chicago. So I think we lost Stefan, but here it is.
No, I'm still here. No, I'm still here. Yeah, no, I'm still here. You're welcome anytime. Anybody's welcome. Come to Chicago.
Yeah, we're gonna come
I'll-
visit. We'll plan something, and you know what I mean. We'll do something.
We'll give you the tour. We'll give you the tour.
Awesome. Well, thank you
Great
so much.
stuff. Thanks,
Okay,
everybody.
thank you.
Happy pop-ups.
Okay, great. So that was an amazing talk. The pop-up expert himself. So needless to say, this has already been a fantastic day. But we have one person left. Alyssa, what are you doing? So if you guys don't know Alyssa is our event director. You should come in here and say hello.
Oh my gosh, like this?
You should just come say hello. We have one speaker left with us, Nicole. Amazing thing. So let me intro her. Alyssa, you gonna come say hi? She'll come say hi. So this is our event director. So again, you guys don't just give me all the credit.
Hi, everybody. Hope you're enjoying Happy Pop-Ups. I'm backstage.
Yeah, so Alyssa, like I said, it's a whole team effort. So make sure you give Alyssa her flowers as well for all her hard work bringing this together. So I'm going to bring our last speaker to the stage where we can wrap up, because I know Sunday, it's been a long day. You've learned a lot. We're just going to wrap it up here. 30 more minutes. Hang in there. And then you can all enjoy the rest of your evening. So with us today, we have Nicole. Nicole, feel free to share your video whenever you like. I'm going to give you a quick little introduction here. Let me just grab your bio because you just have such great stuff. Nicole, let me know if everything's working on your end. A little delay. No worries. Let's see if it connects. In the meantime, let me introduce you. So Nicole Sims is just awesome. She has been in our community for quite some time. If you may not know, we have our own app. So Nicole's always in there providing a lot of great information, ebooks and courses to people in our community around visual merchandising. So Nicole, she is the CEO and founder of Creative Visual Solutions. She has 30 years of retail management and visual merchandising experience. She also has a BA of Science in Retail. She is also a member of BRAG, which is the Black Retail Action Group, an international association for women. She also has been a regional manager, retail manager, direct visual manager of a variety of different retailers, including The Gap, Porsche Design, and Taylor Express, New York & Co., Forever 21, Sports Authority, and she has collaborated on many visual projects with companies such as Nike, Adidas, UA, North Face, and Columbia. So there's so many great things that she has done. She has helped these businesses with their activations increase sales by 30% and traffic up to 20%. So this is not somebody you want to miss out on. Nicole, it's not letting you show your camera. Well, that's all right. I guess we can get started. Can I hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can hear
okay.
you perfectly. You know what?
That's so
worry
weird. I'm
about
not
it.
letting me show my camera.
I can still see your beautiful face. I can see your photo.
Thank you.
If you have another window open, just make sure you close it. That might be the issue.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now. I'm like, maybe that's my own fault, but we can go on. Let me see if I can do it on this.
Yeah, everybody just give us 2 seconds. Let's see how people are doing in the stage. Everybody give us 2 seconds here. Let us troubleshoot. So Nicole, let me exit you out and then I'll bring you back in.
Okay.
So everybody give us 2 minutes. Let's try to troubleshoot. If not, we're just going to continue with just audio.